This call may be recorded for coaching purposes.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
You can.
Loud and clear.
Perfect. I was trying to do my microphone test, but that wasn't working very well. All right, we'll get started here in a couple minutes. Let's get more people joined in. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the second class. I'm Ben Nealer, be hosting again. I hope you got a last class, and I guess the ones that are here are sticking with it. We do have some attrition during class. This isn't report authoring isn't for everybody. Just to let you know, I did send out a recording of last session, and if you did not receive that recording, please search my emails, and if you can't find it, it's a link to the recording on WebEx. If you can't find it, ping me. I'll try to share it again, but I will be sharing all the recording sessions with you, and just so you can review. But if I do recommend between classes that you review the previous video, just to catch you up to speed. So I'm going to go over briefly what we went last time, and then we'll go ahead and get started with today's agenda. So we went over permissions for reports and dashboards. This is a setup function, security, going through your users, and going through your permissions.
Are you sharing your screen? I don't see anything at the moment.
Thank you. Do that all the time. Okay. So we went through permissions, getting everybody set up, getting the author permissions set up, getting your scope set up, setting your preferences, going over reports versus dynamic dashboards, scheduling a report for delivery, what are the production dashboards and dynamic dashboards, or production reports and dynamic dashboards, sources of the data, and exploring dashboard user interface. I'm going to be going over a lot more today with the getting started in creating dynamic dashboards. I'm going to start out today going through exploring the data set. I want to do some, try to tie together the forms, your incident management forms to the data set. It's really good for you to understand that the data set follows along with the forms you're creating. And before I get started in that, I want to share with you a resource. We have a help site. This is our, I'm in an incident claim here. But if at any time, if you go to your upper toolbar, you'll see this green, I'll blow this up a bit. You'll see this green question mark. So this is our help site, lots of help information. If you go to our help site, we've got recordings for our author user, Insight author user group that I have typically every month or every other month. And this, if you click on your process map user group, go to Insight user group, I have a bunch of other training recordings here for different topics that we've covered over the years. And this is very helpful if you want to get deeper dive into things that we're looking at. Now, here I give a deeper dive into the sustainability model. If you're in sustainability, you want to understand how the data works and how the everything's tied together. Go to June 20th, click on this link. I also have the calendar task data model review. Look at all your action items. Go to this site, watch this recording. It's about an hour and a half recording. Also, user group audit data model review. This is going to go in a lot more depth than what I'm going to go into today. So if you really want to learn more about these, please, and then here's the incident module from February 2020. please go into this resource, our help site in Confluence. You find it by this green button and just navigate to the Insight user group page. Okay, Process Map user group, Process Map Insight user group. There's all kinds of recordings and information and training for you. This is a great resource if you've got the time. Okay, so what I am going to do to start out with, we're gonna dive into creating a dashboard. So today I'm going to teach you how to create a little bit more how to create a dashboard, and then next week we have kind of a working session. I'd really like you guys, as I said in the first class, to start thinking about reports and dashboards that you want to build for your organization. Talk to your peers, talk to your stakeholders. I mean, what would they like to look at? What kind of information? And then after today, you have next week to build a report. If you are interested, we would like you to share share with us in class what you've built. Now, right now we got 35 students in class. I probably can't get through everybody, but if you've got questions and you want to share, you want clarifications, you have trouble in your data to validate, I can help you with that. And so what I'm trying to do today is get you to the point where you can start building some meaningful dashboards. Hopefully you have created a dashboard that you practice with and you're playing with, and hopefully you've played with it enough that you failed and you need help, because that's the only way you really learn, is by making mistakes and failing and figuring out what went wrong. That's what I've always preached anyway. So let's get started. Let me see, I'm at 110. This is probably good enough. Hopefully you can see I got a little better screen today. So let's start by opening up a new dashboard. So let's go down to your bottom left corner here and click on New. We're going to go up to Dashboard and click on Dashboard. Okay. I always use the default unless I want to use infographic, which is constant scrolling down, but this is a good place to start. Click on Create. And this is your, and just go over again. I'm going to go over relatively quickly the user interface here, and you're going to be using this a lot. So, and I'm going to be explaining a lot more about this user interface as I'm building. But this is your landing page for a new dashboard. Here is where you select a data source, and remember, this all comes from your Process Map author library. Up top here on the left-hand side, you have your toolbar, and I'm going to go through this in detail a little bit later. Okay, this is your authoring toolbar. Up top, you have your systems toolbar, where you have save as a template, edit button. If you start a dashboard, you'll already be in edit mode. But if you run a dashboard, you want to change it, you'll need to put it in edit mode. That's what this pen is for. You see these two little back arrow, forward arrow. And these are kind of self-explanatory for any of your applications. Go back one, go forward one. It's really handy if you make a mistake and you need to retract your steps to clear things out. This is very important. This is your navigation. Excuse me, your navigation pane. This, if you need to get back home, you can click here on home, click on your little house up here in the upper left. Now this is great because you can have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, I think up to 10 different reports or dashboards open that you can jump back and forth if you're copying something or you're looking at data or multitasking. And if you click on home and you're like, oh, where'd my dashboard go? Don't go back through your file structure. Just come to your home page, go back to your new dashboard, open it up. Here you have your buttons that you have in your home page: share button, notifications, your personal menu preferences, and of course your help menu from IBM, which is great. I really recommend you guys start using this and get involved in the Knowledge Center. Up here you have, this is your widget connections button. I'll explain a little bit more later. This is creating a full screen. It'll blow things up, but you'll lose some of the features. So I typically don't blow it up from here. I will do my full view down here in the corner. You want to do this before you create a new dashboard. However, I didn't cover that spot because my system goes directly into full view. If you're not in full view, you're going to see a double toolbar on the left. Go ahead and close this dashboard. I'll start over again. So click on full view here until you get to this full screen, and you've only got one set of menus here. If you don't, you can accidentally click on your application. It'll take you back into your application. You might lose your work. Or it's just, you won't lose it. It's just troublesome getting back. It's not complicated. It's just, you can get frustrated. Always work in full view. You won't get timed out, and you won't lose your work. I highly recommend working in full view. Okay, create a new one. Once you're in full view, create a dashboard. Use my default. Okay, now this box right here, it says all tabs with the little universal filter symbol. So this is where you're going to drag and drop data into here, and it'll automatically create a filter for you. Okay, we're going to go over that in a lot of detail. This is going to be using this all the time. And this one is for this tab only. Okay, now this is important. If you're using multi-data sources, only use this tab filters, because if you're using global filters, say you put a global filter in here for incident management, it's going to filter all of your tabs, even though you're pulling data in for maybe audit in your second tab. Okay, and then you're going to get your filters are going to get crossed, and you're going to render no data. So just be careful. Have a plan of what you're going to build and where you're putting your filters. If you make a mistake, just delete it, go to your data source, and bring it back into the single tab. Okay. Filters, this will show you all the filters that you've got going on. Fields, I'll get into this more, but this is relatively new. If you've been in class before, you used to have your fields in your widget itself, and now you have another pane here. And there's no visualization selected, also properties. You're seeing properties for the canvas now. So here you can change positioning, layout, page size, fit to page, all kinds of properties and settings that you can play with to modify your visuals, your dashboard. You can even change the style from light. You can change it to dark. You like dark dashboards, you think that's kind of cool. Reset your visuals here. I like the default. Light's okay too, makes things gray. Current dashboard palette, it's your basic standard. Background color, you can always change your color to whatever you'd like. If you have a custom color that you have at your organization, your RGB codes, you're going to find this kind of selection in a lot of areas for color coding. So if there's a widget, if there's a background, if there's a font, you're pretty much going to default to anything you like. So if you have there's a hex code you can use, and also your RGB code you can use, or you can just select from the wheel, and it'll fill in your RGB code or your hex code. So I'm going to go with our standard white background. You see you've got a grid line here. You can toggle that off. Snap to grid. It's handy to help you control your widgets and line them up squarely. You can turn it off though. You can also snap to specific objects. So if you want to make things stick to each other. Your tabs here, Now this is your tab positioning on top. You can make your tabs to the left. You can make your tabs to the right of the title. Oh, that's tab position. You go to the bottom, go to the right. Top is generally default. That's typically what I leave it at, but it's there. Icon position. If you create an icon for your custom tab, this is where you can put it to the right or to the left. Icons are right; they're kind of fun. So tab styling. So in your tab styling, you can add an icon, hand, and then back here, this is where your icon position, left of title, above the title, anything you want. There's so many settings and so many things in these new versions that it's really great. All the different styles you can do. Master tab styling, you can create different styles for your colors, your fonts, the whole bar color itself. Also fill color if you like. The bar color is below. Bar color lets you know which tab you're on to get started, right? So if you're on there, creating new ones. And you can do, this is master tab styling. If you want to do individual tab styling, like I did when I created that little icon, you do that right down below. And advanced, I wouldn't really worry about this too much. I don't get into the advanced. Okay, so those are your dashboard properties. But it's important to notice that in any of your objects, whether it's a text item, whether it's a bar chart, you're going to have fields, properties. This is called a drop-down pane for fields. This is a drop-down pane for properties for your whatever object. There's no object here, so it's just defaulting to the canvas. Okay. So that's the overall. I'm going to go over the data sources next and relate to show you a little bit about your data sources, to how they connect to your application. I've got an incident report pulled up here. I'm going to go through back and forth how this data set relates to your incident form. So we're going to go in and select a source. If you remember that, you go to your author library. Now, you can select an Excel spreadsheet that you've imported. If you want to come down here and pull in a file, like say you have an external data, or you've got a smaller file that you've created, or you're pulling in data from sales or data from maybe a third-party administrator. You want to play with that data. If you're used to using, if you got data from anywhere and you want to play with it, you've got a license, so you don't just have to use our data, right, from our application. You can use data from any source. You can upload this file, click upload. It'll take you to your file explorer. You just pick a file, whether it's on your Google Drive, your OneDrive, this PC, or wherever you want, and upload that file, and you'll have that to use. And one thing about this uploading this file, it's going to default when I'm going to show you how to do that real quick in case you're interested. I upload this file and just pick this one. It's going to upload this and it's going to put this in my my folder, or my custom folder. Now, you're going to need to move that to the shared folder. Remember, I went over extensively the shared folder on the first day. The reason why is if you create a report with data set or a file or module that you've built and it lives in my content, you will not be able, you can build a dashboard for it, but you're the only one that can render that data because it's got security controls in and only you can see things in my content. So if I come in here and I look for that data set I just created and I just pull this IMS, so this is in my content. I need to put it in team content, okay? So I would need to move this, copy or move, go into shared content, go to my company folders. Let's go into put in process map, drafts, and I'm going to move it here, okay? Now, go back to my screen, a new dashboard. Now, I'm going to select multiple data sources, okay? So I'm first going to show you to pull in an Excel file. And then here's this data source, okay? I click back, and this is from Goodyear, great client of ours. This is just an Excel file that we've been working on a project with them. I'm not going to show you any data there for anybody from Goodyear. But this is how you bring in data sources from an Excel file. Okay. Now, if you are in our advanced class, we're going to talk more about building a data module where you can join files, you can change and expand the data from an Excel sheet. It's a really powerful tool. If you guys are really looking into getting to build your own data sets, joining with other data, UV and data models, we'll cover that in our advanced class or intermediate class. All right, so that's how you upload files and get it to your data source. If you have one data source and you want to add another one, go up here and click plus. Now we're going to go to our author library where I started. This is where I pulled data in at the end of class last week. So we go to author library, open content, and let's find which module I want. Let's go to integrated incident management, click on this package, add it. Excuse me, let me just turn off my cell phone. I'm very sorry about that. Turn off my fantasy football guys are bugging me. All right, so I pulled in my incident management. Now I'm inside the package here. If I click my back arrow, this will take me to my data sources. Okay, so I've got my Excel sheet, my data package, and let's add another one. Let's add audit as well. You guys don't, I'm showing audit for those that have audit and don't have incident management. You don't need to add audit as well. It can get confusing and you start pulling in data from different packages and it's going to get convoluted. I only recommend on this one using one. If you've got more in there, you can remove these data sources. Like I'm going to remove this Goodyear sheet. Just take that out. Now, if you're feeling, adventuresome, you can use two, but you only really need to use one. I just brought this in case for clients that had questions or students that had questions about audit management instead of incident management.
Hey, Ben.
Yeah?
We use the audit management, but when I went to the process map author library and packages, I don't see the audit management.
Okay. So what you need to do is make sure you have permissions set up for that. So go into
In my user?
yeah.
Okay.
you have to make sure that you have the author author permissions for audit set up.
Okay.
And if you don't, you change it from consumer to author, then you have to log out, log back in. Now, if you've
Okay.
got it set, and then if you've got it set and you're brand new, we might not have pushed your data into the application, into Insight yet. So what I need
Okay.
you to do is contact your CSM and say, hey, I'm trying to build dashboards, but there's no audit management data package available. Your CSM will get to the product people to push that in and notify you. Okay? Do you see any other data
Oh,
packages
yeah. In audit management, it didn't have anything selected, so I'm going to make it audits author.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So after you do that, log out of your application. Up in the upper corner, click on log out. Don't just close your browser, and then log back in, and you'll have those. All right. Perfect.
That's strange because incident management has me listed as a consumer.
Yeah. Well, somebody
I'm
said.
under application permissions and insight permissions, right?
Well, for the application permission, it depends on what your role is at the organization, whether you're administrator or a consumer. But for the insight permissions, you need to be on author to be able to see the data packages. So, for example, if I go into
Yeah, the insight permissions is one of the tabs, if you will, underneath application permissions.
I'll show you. Okay, I'm sharing my
Okay.
screen.
Okay.
Go to my
let me look
user
at what you're
information,
doing then.
and we have details, scope, system
Yep.
permission, admin. Go to application permissions.
Mm-hmm.
You can have module permissions set up first. This
Right.
are your permissions within the process map application. Okay.
Right. So I went over to the third one, that insight permissions.
Correct.
Yep.
And you should have every single one of these selected down to author.
Okay.
And then click save in the bottom right. And that's for everybody. If you don't have a package, or if you just added a package, added a module, and you can't see the data, come back to here, make sure that you've selected and saved, and then come up here to log out. You log out, then log back in
Okay.
through your normal single server sign-on. Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So what I want to do next is just go back to asset management, manage reports. And I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes going over the package. It's going to, any more than that, it's just going to overwhelm you. You're not going to really remember it. The really only way to manage it, to understand your data package, I can give you the high level stuff, but is to get in here and play with it and start building things. Okay. So I'm going to blow this up a little bit so you can see it better. So again, here I've gone from my sources selected to integrated incident management. From here, this is your toolbar to go back. I can add another source here. These three ellipsis dots, more, you click on those, you can create a calculated field. Okay. Now, if you know any kind of SQL statement coding, like case statements, if statements, or simple mathematical equations, like you want to add one field to the next field, you want to create a text field. You've done any kind of that coding, this is where you can create calculated fields. Now, I'm not going to go over this in this beginner class. Again, we're going to show some simple coding in the intermediate class. For here, now let's get into our data sets. If you look here, the first three files are time information, incident management measures, and setup and lookup information. Below that, everything from incident details down comes from your application in the field of your module. For example, I'm in incident management. The main form, the main field is the incident management detail area. So incident management detail summary, this is where I'm going to find all the data items that I have in my forms, whether it's detail section, case management sections, investigation, claims, action items, management review, attachments, so on and so forth. So if you look at here, you have incident details, goes into witness details as well. That wasn't a separate form, but it's a different data set, data table. Investigations, case management, claim details skips down here, but then you have all these other forms based off the selections you've made, all these other data packages here, or little data files that refer to different sections within your report, like investigations, questions, ergonomic, all these fields that you've created, all these different sections that you've created, they all relate directly to the data items here, whether it's in questions, they all relate to the data items in your data module, okay? Now, I'm not going to go into too much more detail on the incident details, investigation details. I have that, remember, in the beginning of the class, you go to this help. I have an hour-and-a-half long presentation on the data module, how that relates to your application. So the things you really want to learn and start playing with are, one, the search function, okay? Two, the incident management measures, two, time information. Now these are standard time periods that we've created for ease of use and creating data visualization and data reports and everything else that goes with your BI, okay? These are, you're not gonna find fields in here, but if you wanna sort, you wanna group, or you wanna filter by time periods, use these pre-built time periods, okay? You can find these time periods all throughout your data package, okay? Now they're gonna include the date fields, they're gonna include things like incident date, action item due date, action item completion date, all the field selections that you can make. There also include date fields that are called system fields, like a date action item was created, or a date it was transferred to another owner. There are tons and tons of date fields in your data package. If you could think of it, we have probably put it from the application into the data package. When I say system fields, it's not a field that you select, it's not a field you fill in. It's a record, okay, a computer stamped record of the date, who created it, and the status, okay? Status is very important, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Status has to do about the record, if it's been completed, if it's been deleted, if it's open, if it's under management review. Those are all status fields. So this may look pretty daunting to you, but the great thing about it, you have a search function, okay? If I want to find all the date fields in the application, put in date, and it will break out the file structure and show me every single date field I have in the application. So you can see This is a massive list of dates, okay? This is how many date fields we have just in the incident management. Okay? If you want to get more specific, incident date, okay? And this will take you down the file structure, file details, common details, general details, incident details, incident date details. And this file will open up and it'll have your incident details, okay? Well, actually, this is date of incident. Okay, incident details in that file. So it searches not only fields, but files. So this brings me to the next thing that I want to show. There are different types of fields, as I said before. There's measures, there's records, there are dimensions, and there's also date fields. On time information, you can see these are all calculated fields. They have the plus, the minus, and the equal. This means this field has been created by Process Map using coding on the back end to give you measures, okay? I want to just drag in calendar year and drop it here. It's going to show me all the value. This is an aggregated value. It's probably not a good example. Let me delete this. If I put calendar year into my filters, it's going to show me a drop-down value of all the years that I have in the application. Okay? So those are date periods. That's a calculated type of field. Incident measures, we have a pre-built filter. We've got a calculated field. And then we have a bunch of other folders here. This is where you're going to find information about not information, but this is pre-built analytics, pre-built data, whether it's incident counts, incident rates, action item counts, and they're all going to be built, you know, whether it's on time, overdue, closed on time, closed late, these kinds of things. So these are pretty self-explanatory. Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different incident types that you selected when you created when you created this folder. Your incident type here was incident details. I want to edit this. You have these 6 different types of incidents: near miss, injury and illness, environmental, property damage, company vehicle, and general liability. So I selected injury and illness here. This is where that data from that selection gets sorted into the data items in this subfolder. Okay. Now I could show you. You can go through personnel count at your organization, hours worked, summary of incident cases, whether work-related, non-work related, non-recordable, or recordable. These are where we're going to find your other recordable, restricted duty, lost time. These are all your OSHA designations, okay? These all come from your case management, okay, section in the forward. Now, you can go down into your case management. You can go into your classification of case, and you could filter. You could do a count distinct of all the data items and filter it for case classification. That's kind of the hard way to aggregate data, or you could just come in and pick the measures that we've created for you. So in the calendar year, let's give you an example, 2021, create a year filter. I want to bring in my lost time cases. Okay, that would be for my entire organization for calendar year 2020. Okay, so take your time, explore these data items. Another big one here is incident rates. if you just type in incident rates up here, it's going to give you your location summary of incident rates. Or if you put in rate, here's your first aid rate, other reportable rate. And these are calculated fields. You see the icons, a calculated icon. It takes your number of incidents multiplied by the 200,000 normalizing factor and divided by your hours worked. Okay. So you've got all kinds of measures, all kinds of dates. You've also got dimensions. Now, dimensions are going to be something like a category. For example, cause of injury. Okay. If I want to find cause of injury to pull into my my visuals, and I'm going to use these as an example. I'm going to build some visuals, so I'm going to show you. I'm just now trying to just explain how the data package is built. So if I just type in cause, I've got root cause, I've got common, okay, oh, this is all setup information. Don't pull anything from setup or lookup information, okay? Collapse that. This is just, these are all system fields that will tell you what you've built in the application. These fields are not associated with an actual incident, okay? So if you try to aggregate or filter data based off the setup and lookup information, you're going to get an error. Unless there's something very specific you're looking for, stay out of setup and lookup information, okay? You want to be in your incident details, into your incident, injury, near miss, and then your summary details. This is the part of the incident report where you identify the cause of injury, the nature of injury, body part, and all that kind of stuff. Got a subfolder here for near miss as well. Cause of injury, not sure why they have cause of injury and near miss, but it's in there. You also look at your other buckets, vehicle, general liability. These are all separate fields. So if you're looking, you're doing general liability counts, doing environmental detail counts, they're separate fields, and you pull them from different areas of your data application. Spend your time, get familiar, really be diligent on using the search functions and really trying to, the sooner you get your arms around this data package, you know, it takes time. And best function we've got is the search function. But you got to be careful when you do the search function. Don't get tricked into pulling it from setup and lookup information. And this is true with all the other modules as well. You know, sometimes I think we've got too much information in our data packages, but somebody somewhere wanted that data to use and report, so we built this folder, and everybody's folder here looks exactly the same. We're multi-tenant permissions for these data packages, so everybody's got the same data package. Obviously, people aren't going to have the same drop downs. People aren't going to have the same values. There's categories, the general fields, general field labels, the aggregated values. They're all going to be same. Okay. You may have a lot of questions that you don't know you have questions yet about the data packages, but I'm going to go into starting to build data packages, and I want to get into one last thing.
I have one question
Sure.
on filtering by location. Like if you have a company as a whole, I take it like that 16 lost time cases is over multiple sites for that year.
That's
How
an
would
excellent
you?
question. That was exactly where I was going next.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
the last thing I wanted to show you before I jumped into audit a little bit and showed you some similarities in the audit package. Down at the bottom of every single module data set or data package, you're going to see enterprise structure, location details, and additional information. Now, enterprise structure is going to be your organizational structure, okay? You're going to have your level 0 at the enterprise category information level. You're going to have level 1. You're going to have level 2 through 7. Then you have your location details here. Now, say if you wanted to, understanding your organizational structure is very important. If you don't understand your organizational structure, your data is, you're not going to know how to filter your data, and you're going to get very frustrated trying to validate the data between your application and your business intelligence. So if you notice here, I'm on the Westlake location, okay? Here, this is my enterprise structure at the upper level. I'm selected under geography, okay? So if I look here, I've got a lot of level 0s. Okay, this is the top node of my enterprise structure. And it's called level 0 here. Enterprise category information, it's level 0. It's your top node, right? So if I look here in my application, I've got all these levels. So what do you think I'm going to see when I drag in level 0 into my filters at the top of my dashboard? I'm probably going to see all these locations, or all these level 0 structures. And you can see the way that the structure is built by geography. Got level 0 by geography. Level 1s is everything with a plus after it. Level 2s is the next plus down. Level 3, there's no level 3, there's just goes right to locations. Look at North America, I've got level 1 is the United States. Level 2, I've got Alabama, or I've got Florida open. There's no level 3, but they're my locations, okay? Well, let's see how that works in your data. Okay. Now, I'm filtering by calendar year, but let's filter by level 0 name. If I drag that in, voila, I get alphabetically all the level 0s that I had in the application. Okay. I've got a lot more in here than was showing here. We just filtered them out for demonstration purposes. I've got all the data in here. And for demonstration purposes, I'm always going to select, oops, I passed it. Oh, you can go up here and type it in. For me, geography is what I'm going to look for by geography. You don't have to get it exact, it's free text search. Okay. I'm going to filter by geography, click OK. Okay. So now I still have only 16 for this year. Nobody's put any into the, I don't have, see the thing that's important about this, and this hasn't changed yet, the locations that I have in, that I've got data in for 2021 that I have access to in my scope are only associated under the geography mode. Now, if I would select clear everything and go by, let's go by distribution centers, I might have a different number, 0. So all the locations under distribution center don't have any incidents, okay? Or I don't have access to that data, okay? So it's very important that you, if you want meaningful reports and data, you build it for your audience and you filter it correctly by organizational structure. All right, so that's level 0. Level 1, now this is important because it might be frustrating for you. Level 0, if you
Hello, Ben.
Yeah.
You made a statement there you said either you have access to that data or you don't have access to the data. How would you validate whether you don't have access to that data?
Okay, access to the data is defined in your security settings, just like permissions.
Gotcha.
For your application, and that's under scope.
Okay.
Okay. So if you go to the scope that you have permissions on the front end, whether or not I have permission to enter data for all these locations, is the same permissions that I can view data
Okay.
in here. So like say you've got your regional managers that you only want to look at data for the southern region, or you only get access to locations in the southern region. But you build a report that's for your entire company, right? Or the entire world, right? You're going to see as the author, because you've got full scope, you can see all the data. If your southern regional manager comes in, runs that dashboard, he's going to be limited in his data and in his filters to the scope of work he's been given in the security settings.
That's your users. Gotcha.
Do you remember that scope of work area
Yep.
that we were talking about? Okay, you got it. Great.
Okay.
So that's a great feature. It also works if you're scheduling reports and you select an individual from your Active Directory that's pulled in from the application. Their scope security settings also get pulled in. So if you blast this out to 10 different people, they all get it. Let me back up. You can't blast out dynamic dashboards, but you can blast out reports. They are going to see just the data that they have scope for. They're going to receive the data they have scope for. Okay. So this permission is very, very, very important. Now, for level 1, so if I want to drag in level 1 and also filter down by level 1.
Hey, Ben, can I interrupt you a second?
Yeah, sure.
When you brought over the level 0 name by geography, like it seems like when I'm under the enterprise structure and trying to pull over another filter, it's not pulling over.
Okay, so let me. Are you trying to drop it? And it's not sitting there.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so grab it and come over. You're going to see this little, do not enter or negative sign, right? Now, you have to see this bar. You see that bar? That blue bar is going to tell me it's in the right location and it will drop. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So now I've got that blue bar. I can drop it. It'll take.
Yeah. All right. That time it worked. Maybe I was just not grabbing the right.
Yeah, you can sometimes if I grab it and I try to drop it right on top of, like, say,
I think I was actually trying to grab the where it says enterprise structure.
the whole structure. Yeah, that's all the field. This is just your file that has all these fields.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you need to open that up and go to level 1. Now, here's the thing about these alt-tab filters. They don't cascade. What I mean by cascading is if I drop level 1 and I drop it into my application or into my canvas, I'm going to have this level 1 filtered by my all tabs filters. Okay. If I pick another year, let's pick a couple more years, I'm going to see a lot more levels here. So this data is going to be filtered by in the tab by up here, but these filters will not filter each other. Okay. So for example, if I go back a couple and I get rid of my level 1 filter and I drop it up here, I'm going to see all the level 1s I have in my entire tree. You got to be careful when you're building these dashboards to structure it. If you do create permanent filters, you can put filters into visuals themselves, into the fields. So for example, I have this visual and I don't want people to get confused. So I want to filter level 1's name by here. I want to put in here and I just filter it in here. And nobody without author access will be able to change that filter. you can do that as well in your local filters inside your visuals. I'll get into that a little bit more later. But what I'm trying to express to you is be careful with these filters. They don't cascade on the upper row of filters. They only cascade at the first level and then the other levels. For example, I'll put in, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to segue now into building a bar chart. Okay, that has. We're going to build a bar chart by location. And I'm going to show you how that works for a filter. So, any other questions on enterprise level? I mean, you've got many more questions on how they work but I want to get to start building visuals so you can see how that works, and you can start experimenting with the org structure and your data items before the end of class. Is there another question? No? Okay. All right, so I'm going to build a bar chart, and I'm going to build this incidents by month, and I want to be able to filter by location, okay, and by level 1. So I'm going to bring in a column chart. So you see when you click, I've got two different visuals here. So when I click on this visual, this is my new bar chart I brought in. I see the fields and the properties associated with this visual. If I want to work in this lost time case counter I brought in, I have to click on it. Then I can look at the fields I brought in, and I can look at the properties that I brought in. Okay. So here, now I also want to I want to show you something else. You notice when I click on this, you see this toolbar that opened up right here? This toolbar is very important. Now, it's a pop-up toolbar right now. Now, you might have it up here. It remembers your preferences. I like having it pop up, but if you want it to be pinned at the top, there's this little icon at the end, the 4 boxes with a down arrow. That's called unlock your toolbar, okay? If you want it unlocked, it will float off of your visual. Okay, so let's lock it so we always know where it's at. I'm going to explain to you before we build this what these guys. Well, I'm going to build it real quick and then I'll explain these. Okay, so let's do something simple. Let's do total recordable cases. Okay, this is going to be the length of my value. You see over here, there's little cheat sheets. Oh, that didn't take. I dropped it and it wasn't in there. See how the bar, the field is highlighted? Then it will take. So the number hashtag, that's a value, okay? That's going to be one of your measures, these calculated measures, okay? The bars are going to be a dimension, okay? They can be a time dimension or they can be a category dimension, okay? Different types of dimension. For example, you can build a, let's clear here. Let's first build it by month. Okay, that's a time dimension. I'm going to bring month name in. I'm going to drop it, and presto, I've got a visual by month. Okay. Now I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. I'm way up at 150. Hopefully you guys can see this already. So if you can see my visual, it automatically gives a title based off what fields I've dropped in. Okay. Total recordable cases by month name. Okay. There's a couple things you could notice here. One, it's pretty hard to read. Okay. The months are hard to read. There are no values. The months are out of order. They're in alphabetical order. They're not in actual month order. Okay. So how am I want to fix this. Okay. Now, let's start with the order of the months. Okay. Now, computers and software, they are only as smart as what you tell them they're going to do, and especially in data analytics. It's only going to present the data that you've selected and you've filtered for. Okay, it's not gonna think for you. It's not gonna put them in things in natural order for you. You've got to do that yourself. Okay. So how do we get the months in order? So let's go to month name, and you see this more button here, this little vertical ellipsis. We'll click on that, and we're going to sort. So we're going to sort the values of our month's name into a proper order. Okay. So let's go click on sort, then we'll go to custom. Click on custom. Now it just brings up a little pane or a box here. You've probably seen this if you've used different types of applications in the past. So now this is going to let me put these in order that I want them sorted. And you can use this for any of the dimensions that we've created. Okay. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. You can do descending, ascending, low to high, or descending, high to low. Right there. Okay. Now it's sorted my data in correct date order. Now let's clean this up more. Okay. I can
Quick question.
Yeah.
My bar chart, the months aren't populating. Did I miss a step? It's still like a gray bar chart.
Okay. Did you put in recordable cases or a value?
Okay, that would probably do it. Thank you.
Okay. That's all right. Yeah, you got to put in a measure. You got an x-axis, you got a y-axis. And just type in total recordable cases in your search, and it'll get you that value. Okay, so now let's clean up our visual, make it easier to read. Okay, and then I'm going to show you more about this toolbar as well. Okay, so I want to first change the properties of my widget or my chart, my bar chart. I'll go to properties, and it's going to give me a bunch of options. It starts with color. It's got an IBM color number 1. You can change this to any of the palettes that they have currently. You've got recently used. You've got custom ones. This is a custom palette I created. You can create a custom palette by clicking plus here. Create a custom palette. That's what I created in here, my custom Acme colors. Okay. Ooh, that's bright. Let's go back. I don't really want that one. All right. Well, let's stick with this, but you can change all of your colors. Okay. Now, I don't want to use a heat map. Heat maps are good for heat map visuals. Let's collapse our color. Now, these are my visualization properties. You have visualization, and then you have general. The general overall appearance of the visual, the layout, the fill color. I like putting in this light gray. Oops, not that one. I like putting in visual, general, appearance, fill color. Yeah, I like, no, I don't want that one. Okay. Just keep it at white. You can change the border color. You can put in a border around it, so it's distinguished very nicely. You can show the grid if you'd like. You can see faint lines in there. Turn the grid lines off. Oh, no, I got to be in the visual to do that. Sorry, I'm jumping around. Okay. Order, color, layout. Now let's go into the visualization itself. I've talked about, go back to the visualization. Now let's talk about the axis. Now this is your x-axis, okay? So this axis button controls the access properties, okay? You've got month name, it's your axis title, and your axis month, the value month name, it's the name of your data item that you pulled in. The actual name of the values are called your item axis label, okay? So I don't really need month name there because I know what January, February, March, right? So I'm going to turn that off. It's going to delete the month name. And I'm going to go to axis label. I want this font and color to be larger. So I look in under my item axis label. I want to show it. Label orientation automatic, or I could do a rotate. That's handy if you've got it scrunched up, and also handy if you're using location for it. Font family, you guys can change the font to whatever you want, and you can change the font size. You can only get a few choices: 12, 14, 16, 24. Put it at 14, and the color, it's kind of gray. I'm not sure why they don't use black just to default. You have to go there and change it every time. That looks a lot better, right? I'm going to quickly do it for the Y value axis. Get rid of the title. And I'm going to change. I'm going to do same font, 14, and give it black. Okay. All right. Now we've got the legend. Legend is not applicable on this one because there aren't multiple colors that I've got in here. But if I were to bring in, I see the color field here. I've got some other things here that I haven't gone over yet, but I will. For color, say I want to bring in month name again and drop that in color, it's going to give me a different color for each value of month name. Also, if you look here, it's now giving me a legend. Okay, this legend, I've got properties for that I can change. Now, just use your imagination. You don't really need a legend for what month it is, right? But you might need a legend for other purposes. So just for training purposes, bear with me. So you go to your legend. Now you can show your legend. In this case, I don't need a legend because it's by month. I can toggle it off, right? But I can toggle it back on. And at this point, I can change the position. I want to put it on the right, so it gives me a nice little legend up there on the right. I can change the font size, change it to 11. 11 was default, change it to 14. And I can change the color to make it pop out. Okay. I can also delete the title of the legend, toggling it off, because you already know what these are. Now, what it's not going to do is order the legend in the correct order like you order the data fields. It's going to be in order of alphabetical, right? That's just the way the application works. And if you really want to look at it, notice the palette. The first value in the palette of the color associates with the actual first value in the data source, April. Okay, second, August, purple, third, gray, February, so on and so forth. So I cannot change the which value gets which color. It automatically gets associated based on the true filtering of the data source. You're a little bit limited. You can't say like, I want January to be blue or to be green. I want February to be this color. The software isn't that figurable. All right. So we're on chart. Let's go to chart. Now, this is great. I see I've got the measures here, but I want the values to show also on the chart. So here, to select show value labels. I click yes. It gives me the number up here. The challenge is I cannot change the font values or the color of those values. They haven't gotten that far in the details of the application. But there's a couple things I can do. I can show value. I can do percent of category. I could do percent of color. Okay. I can contrast I can select the label location, this outside at the end. I can do it to center. That shows up a little bit better depending on your color palette. Anyway, point is, there are tons and tons and tons of properties for every little part of your visuals. Now, if you guys have seen a couple of names in there that maybe taken the beginner course before, but haven't or taking it again, you'll notice, remember I used to be saying this in the past, the new version's coming out, you can have so much more control. Well, that time's finally here. You got a lot of control. Okay, here, now I want to change the title. You know, there's only total recordable cases by month name, colored by month name. Do I really need to say that? No. Change it by double clicking on it. And I can just free text in, type what I'd like. Now I can see my text details. I can make it bold. I can change the color, just make it black. Recordables by month.
Sorry, quick question. How did you get the bars to go into different colors and get that legend?
Okay.
I got lost on that part.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so I'll go back into your fields, and you see I'm just using so far 2 of the fields. Okay, I'm using a bar chart. I'm using the bars, which is my x-axis. These. I'm using the length, which is my y-axis, which is the value. Down below, you have color. So I just went to my data source, grabbed month name, and drug it into the color, and that will filter. Okay. Now, say I didn't want to use month name because you can remove that. Say I want to use location. Now, location, this seems a little counterintuitive. You've got location ID, location code, and location name. Don't use location name, use location code. Location name is used in parts of our application, but location code is the actual value that's set up in your organizational structure. So one of the quirky rules of our data package is always use location code. All right. So grab your location code and drag that into color. So what do you think is going to happen here? It's going to give me a different bar color for each value. Okay. So this is what's called a combination chart, or a chart with a different color. Now, what if I wanted to stack it? Just remove this column. What would I do? I've got a column chart here. I can go up to my toolbar, and this defines what it is. It's a column chart. Now I want to change the visualization. So let's click on that column. So this is when it tells me what it is. I can do a bar chart, line chart, area, point. I can look at others. And I want to do a stack column. This might break my visual. It doesn't. Okay. Now here on the stack chart, I'm going to go grab my location code again and bringing it into color. and it's going to change the visual based off of my different values for location. Now this is kind of hard to read, right? You have to like, okay, what's dark blue, what's light blue, gotta go over here. I actually want to show another visual or a separate visual by these locations, okay? Now that's where we get into repeaters, repeater rows and repeater columns, okay? Let's remove this. Actually, I'm just gonna drag location code down into row. I'll see what happens. This really blows up my visual, okay? I am showing every location as a separate bar chart, okay? Now, this is all right. It's kind of cool, but it doesn't really make sense for the data I'm trying to show, okay? I don't really like that. Let's just remove that. But I want to show you what these other values, what you can do. Sometimes it makes sense to do that. And what I really want to do is I want to put another graph, another chart just like this, but instead of going by month, I want to go value by location. Okay, so I could go and grab another bar chart, column chart, drag it in and start all over. I don't want to do that. I want to take a shortcut. So what do? I want to make a copy of this one and just change one value, month name, to location. How do I copy this? Go up to the top, then duplicate. Just duplicated my chart. I drag it down below. Now I've got same visual. Now I'm clicked on this lower visual. I remove this column. Back to my data. See these, I haven't explained these yet. This is your data. Shows you a little tree of data. Pinning, this pins your, if I wanted to pin this to basically a clipboard, the visuals I've created and you can use at other times. This is when you pin it. I'll go ahead and pin it. And this will show you how many visuals I've got pinned. Anyways, it's copying that. No pins. This is this little bar. This shows all the different visualizations you could choose. And this is text boxes, images, media you can play, or hyperlinks. These are just icons you can stick in there and have fun with. Okay, sorry to digress. Okay, so I don't want time information. I want to go back, scroll all the way down to location, code, under my location details. Remember, this is at the very bottom. It's good to keep your data packages cleaned up. You click the top node, it'll shrink everything under. You want to open it again, it'll open back up to where you were. The location code, I'm going to bring that. Oops. I want to delete month name. Oh, I'm on the wrong visual. Click on the visual you want to be in, and grab your location code. Put that in the bars. There you go. Now I don't want to show the percent. I want to show the actual values. Same here. Value. Now I've got it by location, got it by month. I don't want to have the same visual, or I also want to have, I do want my color coding Because I switched to a stack bar, didn't I? In the column. This one, I do want to show different colors. So let's go to a column. I do want to show. You don't have to follow me around. Right now, I'm just playing. Okay, so this just helps you visualize a little bit better. Okay, so this is great. But I kind of want to show the, and I want to show you why they call it dynamic dashboards. Let me just pause here, collapse these. Okay. Now, the great function about dynamic dashboards is you can filter from the visuals themselves, okay? They say, got all these incidents in September. I click on September, who's getting my incidents? Who's got my incidents? So you can filter right here from one dimension, and it filters your other visuals. Shows you how many lost time you have, shows you how many in each. Now to undo that filter, you just click on it again, and it'll undo it, right? I want to show you one more thing about these bar charts, and then we'll move into some other kinds of charts, other types of visualizations that you can show. All right, so.
Hey Ben, is there a way once you filter, can you even get more detail? Just says, hey, the individual, the day, and the action or what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. You can create how many action items were associated. Do you want me to create a chart like that?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, I like to see, there was, Jeff was injured, Friday, whatever the injury was or something of that nature.
Yeah, let's look at some details. Okay, that's a great suggestion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in a table. So you can drill through these and you can start looking at some of the details of these incidents. I'll bring in a table. Now a table is just basically a table spreadsheet. And I'm going to bring in some of the incident details. Okay, so far we've covered time dimensions, measures, and we've got into our org structure, right? Let's get into the details. So common details, it's important to internal incident ID. I can just drag this and drop it into the visual. See, it comes up in my columns. I can put in incident type. Oops. Yeah, when you're dragging into the box itself, it has to be the blue line away on the other side, or you could just drag it into the box in your fields. Okay. Injury and illness, near miss. Okay. Remember, these are only filtered by recordables. Okay.
Right.
So this is gonna have more data than these visuals are. Once I click on this, it's gonna filter these for recordables. Okay. So I can, at some point, I can filter this to match these if you want. But let's just start building this. Okay, so incident type, let's bring in incident dates of incident. Incident department is always good, right? Time of it, you've got so much information in here. Incident department. Now you said you want employee name. You get employee name in here. Now you'll go down to employee details. So crank up your common details. General incident details. We're gonna go to employee details. Okay. And you get a personnel type. This is going to be whether it's employee, temporary, or supervised contract employee, or visitor, or unsupervised. Employee general details. You Going further in employee full name. So that's why you can start building a chart with some detailed information. From here, you click on your right click on your data item, click on text box, and you can start playing with the visuals, right? So
If
for
you want to
here,
switch them around, just, put the ID or name in front of, one other column, can you just drag and drop the columns
yep,
in order that you prefer?
you can't drag them from in here, but you can drag them from here.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you can go incident type, you put this at the end.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Got it. So you can build tables that have values. You can have tables that have details. So here, I'm just going to call this incident details. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to come up to my toolbar on top. See, there's a bunch of different ways you can set your properties. I could go into the properties of the chart to set these values. I go to the top chart up here, or I can right click on it, or I can click on it, and like on this aspect, it'll show me other values to sort. This is filter, this is sort, this is formatting data, summarizing the data, aggregating the data, and this is a shortcut to a text box. Okay. Now, I want to be, you mentioned, sir, I didn't catch your name from the my little box here, but you got to be real careful when you're here. You can have duplicate action items per incident. And if you pull an action item information from your action item section, you can blow up, kind of not blow up, but you're going to start getting you can get multiple lines of data for the same incident, because you can have two incidents for that, two action items for that incident. So unless you're building reports where you can build queries and manage that data more carefully, be very careful of mixing and matching action item data with incident data. You can, however, create a separate visual. Let's get another table. And what we're going to do is we're going to show how many action items by location. So bring location code in. And we've got measures for action items as well. So if you go to incident management measures, injury and illness, see action items down here. Open action item count, let's bring that one in. Let's go closed action item count. Overdue action item count. Now, you can do this by location. So you have a location, you've got aggregate count, but all you really have to do if you want to look at location, you select a location value, like here, and it'll filter for that location, all your other widgets. And I'm having a little bit of issue with this data items right now, so it's not filtering for me. If I get this location code, and I remove this column, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in, and this is a very good accountability report. So I go into my action item source detail, no, create details, and primary owner, and I put that at the top. I can see who in my organization has all the action items. If I right click here and I sort, nope, that's count, stop that. I want to do sort, click on this, sort descending, my overdue counts. I can see who's got the most overdue action items very quickly. Then if I want to filter that by location, it'll start filtering. It'll show the incident items. You might want to do action item details here instead of incident details. So that's the idea, and what we're really trying to impress on clients and authors is to start building your visuals, your dashboards, your reporting program to tell a story, right? Let the data tell a story. So, and I'm going to sort this one real quick by location code. Oops, no. If you want to sort, get this high to low, you have to click on the visual, go to your fields, go to your value, go to sort, click descending, and that'll filter. Just a better visual when you do it that way. You know, you always want your months probably to show up like this. So if you want to tell a story here, okay, where are all my incidents and why am I, if is there accountability? My incidents aren't stopping. Are people doing their action item? I want to click on September. I see Westlake is having the most. I see overdue action, no overdue yet. But let's look at July because they're probably in 30 days. I see Gregory Peck has 2. I could look at a location, filter that. Closed action items, Dakota, he's closing an action item, he's doing good. So you can build your visuals for information that you want to tell a certain story, whether it's accountability, whether it's performance, whether it's identifying a root cause. Really be deliberate in not only looking at, you can look at, you know, your lagging indicators as counts, but you can also try to start getting diagnostic in your analytics where you're looking at the whys, right? Why am I having these incidents? What are the root causes? What are the contributing factors? What are the cause of injuries? What are the nature of injuries? What body parts? All those kinds of things. All right, so I've got one more type of visual to show you, which is a crosstab. Any questions on these types of visuals? I've gone over bar chart, and you can show these as pie chart, right? If I wanted to look at this, I change this to fields. Let me get rid of location color. Do this column. I can come here. I can look at a visual. I can make this a packed bubble, right? And then I do want to put back my patient information. I mean, it's all kind of fun. You can build different different visuals, different kinds. You can play with these. This might say a pie chart might be better. There's all kinds of things you guys can play with. All right, so any questions on this tab? I'm going to show you another tab, which is going to be a cross tab. It's going to be showing performance and showing some conditional formattings of how I can set baselines and color code based off those baselines.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there a way to see how this will look at the end user? Because I know you talked about scope. So this chart, like the pie chart, for example, if the person viewing this only has scope to 2 locations, then the pie chart would look different. Is there a way to do a preview to see what that person would see?
Sure. What you could do is bring in your location code, drop it up here into this tab, and pick the locations you wanted to show that they had access to. Like, for example, I'm going to do, let's do Westlake. And let's do Lakeview. Yeah. Answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You got it. But just remember to delete that. All right, so let's go to the second tab, and I'm going to show you how to build what's called a crosstab report. And a crosstab report is basically a pivot table, okay? Where you got rows and columns and values, and you can build on it through your whole org structure. So let's look at incident rates by month by location. All right. So what I'm going to do is time information, bring in my month name into the columns, bring in my location in the rows, and I'm going to bring in search for rates, start rate, total reportable rate, and my values. All right, now you can have a nice little crosstab. All your locations. You're gonna have summaries on the bottom, you know, summaries on the left. You can leave those in there. Some of these have, you know, null values. All right, so same thing here. You go to your month name, to sort, get your value sorted out, or your order correctly. Do a little formatting on fonts. Clean that up a little bit. You can change the title. I've already gone over that stuff. So now what I want to do is I want to do conditional coloring, okay? So in reports, it's called conditional formatting, but I've got one value. I can bring in other values. I can drag in my hours. I can drag in my incidents. I can put other rates in here. It can get as complicated as you'd like. I could also break this down by my org structure further. I could drop in if I want to see my enterprise structure, level 1. Let me get this right and put level 1 in and put that above location code. If you move it above, it'll drop down. And then this it'll section it and summarize it by the different levels. You can go as many levels as you like. Okay, it's a good way to split things up. You can also get rid of summaries if you'd like. But let's go back to what I want to talk about, incident rate. So conditional color, the available data of total incident rate. Okay. Now I could create a field based off of which year I want. It would be a calculated field, a case statement, case when 19 or 2019. Then my goal or my target would be 4. That's getting kind of complicated, but let's keep it simple. Let's create a target and a rule. So color by incident, portable incident rate. This is my very simple palette. I don't want to do it by percentage. I want to do numeric. And I want to, just for giggles, you guys are probably going to have a target rate. Let's say your target rate, you just look at your values, is a 2.15, okay? And so let's add a rule. Okay, if the value is, okay, select a rule, is less than 2.15, it's going to be green, and it's going to have a down, and it's going to have a smiley face. And that's your goal. Let's add another rule. See, all the green showed up here. Let's add another rule. Say that is greater than or equal to 2.15. That color is going to be red, and it's going to have an up arrow. Then here you're seeing your values show up in red. And you can always you can bold these out, make the values pop out a little bit better. Okay. So that's a crosstab. That's ways you can aggregate, show data, do quick comparisons, look where your trouble spots are. It's typical pivot table. You guys have probably used them in the past. Of course, you can change the rates, and there's tons of other properties that you can play with as well. All right, so any questions at this point? I'd like to go, I can answer any questions. Really like you guys to make some effort at this over the next week, and come next week, I'll expand the session for 3 hours next week if needed. And I'm just going to go from alphabetical order from top to bottom and call each, it's because that's how it shows up on my participant list. And I'll ask if you have created anything, if you'd like to share. I really, if you've got privacy challenges, don't put anybody's name in there. If you have corporate challenges about even sharing any data, don't share your data. But if you've got something you'd like to share, you have questions, I'm sure somebody else probably has that same question. If they don't, they'll probably run into that issue. So don't be shy. What you can do, you can try to recreate this. So I'm going to save this dashboard somewhere where I don't think, yeah, I'm going to save this into our shared folders. So you guys can access this, and you can look at it, or you can always just pick one of our, I'm going to click Save As. I'm going to go to Report Exchange. I'm going to go to Incident Management, Content Exchange. BPN are my initials. And I'll create a folder for beginner class. Okay. And inside that folder, I'm going to have put in okay. So I'm going to save that here. If you guys want to have access to that, you can find it very easily. Just go to your search, you type in Paul, And first thing that pulls up is their fall dynamic dashboard. And it'll search for that and then give you the multiple locations. Enter. Have it open so it's not showing. Anyway, it might not show up yet in the search, but it'll be there. All right, so any questions before we close for the day? Please come next week with at least some of you, or it's going to be a short session, with stuff to share, and I can help you troubleshoot. If you've got a project and you've got stuff that I haven't covered that you want to dive into, I can help you there. But if there are no other questions, thank you very much. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks. I do have a chat.
Thank you.
The recording, where is it again? Is it on the help site?
I'll share it with you. It's a gone recording. I'll share you a link to it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm trying to replicate some of the stuff you had. I hate to wait till next week to share my screen. I'm getting it to.
What's that, Richard?
I'm having a hard time on a particular graph, and I was wanting to ask you. It's probably something you can answer. I was trying to follow.
Yeah. Why don't you share your screen?
All right, I'll do that. Let me know when you can see it. Yes? No? Let me see. Share. Okay. Oh, hold on a second. I see what I've done. Share. I didn't hit share. I selected. I just didn't say share. So. Share. Good. You see?
Not yet.
All right. Let me try one more time. There we go.
Got it.
That looks more right. Now you can see?
Yep.
Okay. So so I'm drawing in the data. I'll move this. Shrink this. Fields. I'm trying to show, for example, investigation status. So I've got the recordable count by month, kind of like we've done. I got the investigation status. I've got the period and the month name, so it's an order. But I'm trying to drag in the status, and it's not giving me. I think it's just giving me the options as the status. And now me.
So what are you trying to do? Or do you want to show it as a color?
Yeah, I was going to do. Well, it's going to be either it's complete or complete. So I thought I would go to the.
You have to bring in a measure first and put that into length, and then drop the status into your color.
Okay, so the measure would be
How many recordable incidents?
Yeah. So I have a question that says, where's case management? Hold on just a second. I know it's case management. And I've got, is this a company defined recordable? If I bring that over to the link.
No, bring that into your filters down at the bottom.
Oh, okay. All right, that's helpful. Maybe that's
just hover over it and grab it, drag it down.
I always have a problem.
Okay.
I always have a problem trying to grab it because it ends up highlighting it. So let me just.
Okay, just delete it and then drag it down into the bottom. So yeah, scroll down first in your fields. Yeah. Okay. Go down. Local filters. Okay. So click on yes. Yes. Okay.
All right.
Now you want to show a reportable count. So bring in reportable count and drop it into length.
Okay. So that's just going to be. Isn't it also going to be a yes for this as well? Then I guess that's. I duplicate it.
Well, you just already filtered that widget for that value already.
Yeah. So
no, that's just a dimensional filter. Okay.
Oh.
So now go up to your incident counts measures up top. and bring in your recordable count.
Incident
So
measures.
you can type in total recordable.
Oh, I always forget that. Use that.
Okay, total recordable cases. Or do you want total incident cases?
Just recordable.
Okay, drop that into length.
All right, so that's going to match. That's good. And then I go down to status and color it.
Yes, then you put status into color. Is this a stat column? Yes. Yep.
All right, so I'm going to go then into.
Okay, so what status are you looking for? Incident management review status?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually choose this one. I'll change that title. So I'm gonna take and drag the color in, and I can separate, which ones were management reviewed or which ones were not.
Okay, so there's a bunch of statuses. So complete,
There's one
open, not
complete.
available. Yeah. Open and rejected. Yeah. You might-
I guess I see what's happening here because I really want 2 colors, and this is giving me 4. I wanted
yeah, so this
either,
is,
it's either complete or it's not.
so make it open. Open is not complete.
Yeah. But that total is not going to match. Like this 8, there's 8 in March, and this is only counting 6.
Well, they don't have a status yet. They haven't started the management review process, maybe.
Yeah, they haven't. That's what I was. I mean, that's the final step is management review. So
Yeah.
I can
You
toy with it though. You solved my issue of dragging the wrong information in. So
Okay. Yeah, you can play with it, and yeah, I like the way you're thinking about different processes and measures. The thing I didn't go over was record status, whether it's been deleted or not. I'll cover that first thing on Friday.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, Richard. Anybody else?
Hi Ben, this is Arvind. I have a quick question.
Sure.
So, I mean, like when you open the package, right, and when you start opening the folders, so when you get down to the metric, each metric has like a little icon besides it, right? So, for example, like
Can you share your
let's
screen?
say, yeah, sure. So, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So, like for example, this other recordable has like this type of icon, right?
Yep.
And then Dart rate has like a different icon. So if I keep going to other folders, let's say like so for example here the injury illness like status have like this filter kind of icon.
Yep.
Right, so everything has like different types of icons, right? So like
Yeah,
is
there's
there
different type of fields, different type of characters.
yeah, that's right. So is there a way like where like is it configurable or like is there a way where we can know like what this particular icon means or like do we
Yeah, you can Google it, but if it's got a clock on it, that's going to be a date.
Mhm.
If it's got a calculator like that, it's going to be a measure.
Okay.
If it's going to be just like a box, like a list, it's going to be a dimension, like a list, like go to recordable or location.
Yeah, record yeah, I think if I go to location I'll see
And
names.
it says ABC.
Yeah.
Hashtag is going to be a number,
Mm-hmm.
just like a value. It's not calculated. It's a value that somebody's entered in.
Okay.
And when it has that little square box, that's a data table. There's data underneath of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, this is something we don't configure, right? It just comes like we just put in our data and like IBM just categorizes them
So
for
we
us. Right?
categorize. Well, we create the fields, and I don't know if you've been with us when we were creating any kind of our apps. When we create new data packages, we have to define what kind of field we want it to be, whether it's a dimension, a measure, which measures we want. Measures are aggregation of IDs filtered a certain way. So yeah, it's IBM's designated icon. We've got no control.
Okay.
We have
Got it.
control over what kind of field it is, but we can't change what you want to call that.
Okay.
It's the same for everybody using the data package.
Okay. Thank
Does
you.
that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right, great. Anyone else? Raj, are you with us?
Thanks a lot, Benjamin. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Everybody have a great day, and we'll
You
talk to
too.
you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.